let's get right to it because there's a key date coming up next week for the Green Bay Packers. Mandatory minicamp, not voluntary. All this talk about OTAs and who's going to show up and who's not going to show up, that takes a back seat because now thou shalt attend. And if you don't, if you skip the mandatory minicamp, you're looking at $93,000 in fines. Plus, you can be called out. You can be chastised publicly by your coaches if you skip the mandatory minicamp. So, Chris, the biggest name when it comes to who will or won't be at mandatory minicamp this year, Aaron Rodgers. Yes. And yesterday, Coach Matt LaFleur talking about the possibility or not that Rodgers will be at next week's mandatory minicamp. Here's LaFleur.
How important is it for you to have Aaron Rodgers out there practicing with the team next week?
Oh, I think it's, like I said, it's important that we have all our guys, and certainly, we'd love them to be here, and, hopefully we'll see them Tuesday.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of conviction.
No. I mean, come on.
Right?
He could say all he wants. Yeah, it is important for all the guys to be there. They want Aaron Rodgers to be there. Of course, he's the leader of the team. As he's said many a times, he's kind of the blood, he's the soul, the heart and soul of the team. And then I think also, too, Mike, that, things that maybe the public doesn't realize why you love a guy like Aaron Rodgers at practice, it usually raises the level of practice. That's why it's a great thing to have that guy there. Because everybody is like, oh, wait, Rodgers is here. We got to get on our game. The receivers, the linemen, they know that, the coach might yell at me, but Rodgers might get pissed at me too. I got to do that. And, with Jordan Love and everything, he might not be at the place where Aaron Rodgers is as far as certain plays, checks, the totality of the offense, to where they might not be able to really practice what they want to do. So just from an X's and O's football standpoint, you do want the guy like Aaron Rodgers to be there for those factors.
And to the point that you made back when this all got started, he should want to be at everything in the offseason because it slams the door on the ability of Jordan Love to develop to the point where the Packers may say, we're good to go. We're good to go. We were right when we traded up to get Jordan Love in the 2020 draft. We're comfortable with him. He's developed. And I remember when, and this wasn't that long ago, and at the same time, it was a long time ago. In 2016, when one of the breathless talking points from those of us in the media was the fact that Marcus Mariota, then a rookie with the Titans, had thrown no interceptions in training camp practice. He's got no interceptions. Aaron Rodgers came out and said, I want to throw interceptions in training camp practices because I'm figuring out the limits of the extent to which I can trust the receiver to go catch the ball based upon where I put it relative to where the defender is.
Exactly.
I want those things to happen in training camp. So if he's not there for OTAs, if he's not there for mandatory minicamp, it puts more pressure on developing that sense of who he can trust. He's got a rookie in Amari Rodgers that he needs to get comfortable with. Who you can trust, when you can trust him, where you can throw it, and how it's going to work when it's time to play in the games that count. So that's an important part of being there for the mandatory camp as well.
No doubt. That's like timing and rhythm and all those things you talk about, right? Yeah, you're exactly right. Hey, getting a feel for how my arm feels this year, now that I'm a year older. What are the throws that I still can get away with? Let me just make sure I can still do this, get away with that, whatever it may be. All right, so here we are. It's less than a week. What do you think? You think he's going to be there, or you say no?
I don't think he'll be there.
No, you don't.
I don't think he'll be there.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be either. I don't. I think it's just by the fact that he was in Hawaii last week. He talked to Kenny Mayne about the cleanse he was doing. Like, I would think he's actually probably just starting to really train and get ready for the season right now, and I don't know if he'll be there either. I guess I'm saying no either. I agree, and I don't think they're going to find him with this. And that's still a thing, right? You don't automatically get fined.
Why wouldn't they?
No.
Well,
because I don't think they're going to want to piss him off anymore. I don't think they want to cause any more issues.
I don't think that's possible.
Well, you're right. You're right. They might be at the limit. You're right.
And to borrow a phrase from Randy Moss, what's $93,000 to Aaron Rodgers?
No, it's nothing. Right.
And he's already given up $500,000 by not showing up for at least 85% of the offseason program. He's sacrificed $500,000 that he otherwise would have earned. So what if he has to write a check for $93,000? And that's just the very small tip of the iceberg when it comes to the financial losses he's looking at if he would go through with any plan to not show up at all in 2021. I broke down the numbers yesterday.
What is it?
If he holds out,
right.
If he holds out at training camp and doesn't show up at all this year, the total financial cost is more than $35 million. If he retires just before start of training camp, it's about $33 million. So what's $2 million to him? It's still a lot of money for him to have the privilege of not playing this year. And Chris, it dawned on me yesterday. I was doing a spot with Paul Allen on KFAN, and we were talking about some of the recent reporting of the Aaron Rodgers situation, and it just the light bulb flickered. If you're the Green Bay Packers and you're looking at the possibility of trading Aaron Rodgers right now, you arguably, and we've said in the past, you're never going to get more for Aaron Rodgers than you're going to get coming off of the 2020 season when he was the NFL MVP. But that would have been true in March when you could have gotten maximum teams to the table.
Right.
Right now, you got the Broncos, maybe the Raiders, possibly the Dolphins if they could convince Aaron Rodgers to go to Florida. He wants to get closer and closer to the West Coast. If you're the Packers, and assuming that you would trade him now, you're going to get 2022 draft picks or later.
Yeah.
Well, if you trade him in March of 2022, that's what you're getting. You're getting the same picks. You may get more picks in March when you can get 7, 8,
no doubt,
9 teams to get involved in the bidding.
Right.
So we get more in trade for him if we wait. And then in the interim, he either plays for us another season or we get back $33 million. We get $14.7 million in salary relief that we don't have to pay him. $11.5 million in signing bonus money, $6.8 million roster bonus that has been earned but not paid out yet. I was told recently that those checks are going to come every week, so it's easy to recapture that as well. They don't have to chase him around for it.
Right.
It's a lot of money that they could use now or next year to buy players, and they're going to get more in trade. The only thing they would sacrifice is the ability to get players who could come in this year. If you're going to trade them for picks and players.
Yeah, sure, right.
You're not getting the players this year. But if I'm the Packers, this is a no-brainer at this point.
It is.
Aaron, look, we're not trading you this year. We'll consider it in March, but we're not doing it now. And we'll see if you show up. And if you do, great. And if you don't, we'll make do, and we'll realize a significant pile of cash at a time when the cap is down, and we can use that money now or in the future to make the team better elsewhere.
I agreed with everything you said there. No doubt about it. I mean, you're right. They're going to maximize more. You know, that's why we questioned Rodgers in the first place. Why wasn't this made more public if he really wanted to be traded early on in the offseason to put the pressure and get it going? But, yes, I agree. Green Bay has no reason to do anything right now. They can kind of just sit back. Yes, it's all on Aaron Rodgers. He's the guy that's got to make the next move. And $35 million, I don't give a damn if you got, you're a billionaire or you got $200 million in the bank. That's a lot to just say I'm going to walk away from that this year. I mean, even for people as much money as Rodgers or Brady or the other top quarterbacks, man, that's a tough one to walk away from. And,
how many years do you have left? You're going to give up one of your remaining years? You got 4 years left.
That's where I'm going.
Give up 25% of it? Yeah.
No doubt about it. That's exactly it. And that's where I was going to go with this. So I don't think he'll be at minicamp. He'll be at training camp. I'm going to be interested to see if they really find him, because stars in my history in the league and knowing it usually don't get fined, and they might not want to add fuel to the fire here. But that'll be interesting nonetheless. But I think your point there, what you just said, is the real thing. The clock is ticking. Rodgers is special. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but not everybody thinks that in a lot of ways. I don't think the public thinks that. And to me, like you're saying too here, limited amount of years. We've talked about this. The team's good right now. They could go to a Super Bowl again. We know we'd like him to have a little more firepower. All right. But the other thing with Rodgers, and we know how hyper aware he is the legacy thing and all of that. The other thing I always come back to is like, Rodgers, part of his, like the Super Bowl thing's over for Rodgers. Yeah, maybe he can get one or two more, right? He ain't going to catch Brady. He's not catching Terry Bradshaw or Montana at this point, I don't think. I mean, we'll see. One more, I think, would be great for him. But either way, part of his legacy is going to be his stats. That's going to be it. I mean, when you look at Aaron Rodgers' stats, they blow you out of the water. Like we've talked about a few weeks ago, the 400 touchdown passes, less than 100 interceptions, quickest to 40,000 yards, quickest to 300 touchdowns. He's going to be the quickest to all these numbers as we keep going. And just think about what he did last year. It was half 100 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. He's the last 3 years, it's 100 touchdown passes or 99, something like that, and like 10 or 9 interceptions. I didn't do the math, but it's somewhere like that. So to me, that's part of his legacy too, and I think he's got to be aware of that you're missing a great year of your career. You could win a Super Bowl, and then, some of the things you said, and that part of it right there, that's where I just think Rodgers will be back playing football.
Over under his status on the all-time passing yardage list, 10.5. Over or under?
I think he's under right now. Yes, he's under.
He's over.
Is he over?
He's at number 11.
Okay.
He is 230 yards away from John Elway to crack into the top 10. And
okay.
The others ahead of him, 3 of them are active. Matt Ryan with 55,
right.
767. Rodgers has 51, 245. Ben Roethlisberger's at 60,000 and change. And Tom Brady, obviously, at 79,000. He'll catch Drew Brees possibly Week 4 Sunday night on NBC. And it's amazing. Rodgers became the starter in 2008. Matt Ryan became a starter in 2008.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan's got 4,500 more passing yards than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, it is. And when you look at a base level, but I would also say, like, the last few years and things like that, of course, hey, first off, Matt Ryan's had more talent on the offensive side of the ball around him his whole career. That's undeniable. I mean, so that's conversation's over. And then the other part is, especially the last few years, and there's some other years too where they're not as good. They're down. So he gets to throw a ton and gets to get a lot of yards that way as well. But, hey, Matt Ryan, he's put up a lot of damn stats. It's a lot better than I think people want to give him credit for sure. But the touchdown passes, the interceptions, Rodgers has a chance there still. He does.
Yes.
So that's where he's 7th, I think Pete just said in my ear, in all-time touchdown passes.
412.
Right.
He's ahead of Roethlisberger. He's ahead of Ryan. The only one he's trailing is Tom Brady with 581, but he is 8 away from Dan Marino, 9 away from Phillip Rivers, and there's a gap of nearly 90 to catch Brett Favre.
Ooh, yeah, that's so he's got a lot. He's got a lot of work there, and that again, if you want to get up there to the Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees territory and all these stats, you can't take a year off. I mean that ends that. And to me, I just feel like the guy's too aware of all of these things and where he is in the pantheon of all-time great quarterbacks and everything like that. The Super Bowl thing's not going to be there, so the stats are important too. And I can't imagine Rodgers walking away for a year just to prove a point here.
Assuming 40 a year, and that's
ambitious.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Right.
He needs 4 years to catch Drew Brees.
There you go.
4 years.
Right.
And 40 a year to catch Drew Brees. And the one name I mentioned is the most important, Brett Favre at 508.
No doubt about it.
There is no way he is walking away from football until he gets to 509.
I would think so.
Way.
I would think he knows all these numbers. I mean, he does. It slips out every now and then when you hear an interview too. He's very aware of like my stats, this guy's stats, what's the history of football. He really knows that type of stuff. And then, the last thing, Mike, too, that we've hit on many times, but I do think it's a real fact and like something that's, tangible, is he has no issue with the coaches or the players like we've talked about. So when you come back to that, you can block the Gutekunst and everybody else out of your life when it comes to football and the front office people, to where it won't affect you on a day-to-day basis because you don't have to see them or deal with them as much.
As long as they stay away from the practice field. And as we've said, if you go near the white line, Brian Gutekunst, 2 cups.
Stand behind
helmet,
Rodgers. Stand behind
visor, shoulder pads, flak jacket,
bodyguard.
Everything. Be ready to go.
Right.
Be ready to go. So this all feeds into why the Packers are doing what they're doing. They're calling his bluff. If it is a bluff. If it's a bluff, we call. If it's not a bluff, we'll live.
Yes,
what's
that's what they're saying.
Choice?
Right.
If he's not going to show up, fine. We'll go forward with Jordan Love, and we'll deal with it after the season. So, we had suggested last week, and I know the Packers are aware of the possibility of him retiring for a year and then coming back next year when they will have moved on. I think they'll move on if he doesn't. It doesn't matter what happens this year. If Jordan Love's good enough, he's the guy next year. If not, they'll find somebody else. I don't think they're going to pin their hopes to Aaron Rodgers if he sits out all of the 2021 season, but I don't think he will. And maybe he holds out some at a training camp just to send a message. I don't know. But the message is sent. We know. We're aware, Aaron, that you're upset with the front office. We get it. It's about the people. We understand. I don't know what further message he can send that would convince anyone of his position without undermining his ability to get his 40 touchdowns this year, Chris.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, he's kind of stuck now at this point, this part of the year, and I think you explained it right with the Packers and their situation as well. You know, I feel like the writing's on the wall here with the fact that they haven't budged and everything like that. I mean, a lot of that says it's Rodgers just playing to see if he can get another year in Green Bay anyways. They don't seem like they're batting an eye at like, oh man, we might have to go with Jordan Love in 2022 and go from there. I think those are the kind of the messages they've sent to Rodgers, probably why it's pissed him off. He hasn't got enough of that, what am I trying to say? Commitment from them to feel good.
Right or wrong, accurate or inaccurate, he thinks that he threw a wrench in their plan last year by being the MVP. The plan, therefore, being to flip the switch from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love in 2021. He believes that.
I know.
Doesn't matter whether it's true.
Right.
He believes it. And that's one of the reasons. And so, you know what, Chris? Now that we've talked this through, and we both believe this is going to end up with Aaron Rodgers showing up for training camp, why not just go to the mandatory minicamp? Why not?
No, I know.
What's the harm in going?
There is none. You're right. Go, practice, play.
Unless you want to torture Brian Gutekunst.
That's what I think
July.
he'll do. Exactly right. That's what I think. That's what I think it's about. It's just like one more, screw you, jab to the head, and be like, I'm just not coming. I don't feel it right now. I don't want to answer the questions. You guys answer more of the questions. I think that's what it's about. You're right. Everything else, you just go, go, get better. Take away the reps from Jordan Love like we've talked about. Your team's good. Let's start getting going. But no, I think he's a stubborn SOB, and I say that politely in a endearing way in a lot of ways, that he won't do that.
Here's the key, though. When you don't show up for something that is mandatory, you commit an overt act that will give the fan base reason to freak out.
Sure.
And the people who cover the team reason to fuel that fire. So while you torture Brian Gutekunst for another 6 weeks, you're also torturing the fan base for another 6 weeks. So that's the other side of this. To the point he's trying to win the crowd, and I think we agree that whole people routine from last week was about winning the crowd. Not showing up for mandatory minicamp, that's going to be a tough one to explain when the time comes to get the fans on your side, because they're going to spend 6 weeks pissed off that you weren't there for mandatory minicamp. And if you slip up at all this year, if you had come to mandatory minicamp, you'd be better prepared for the season.
That's where it's a weird topic. Yeah, I mean, when you say it that way too, it makes me think, gosh, he's shown a lot of times in history that he is hyper aware of that type of stuff too, and that he'll be there. So, I mean, I have no idea. I would think that Matt LaFleur has no idea at this point either. And they'll get a feel, I would say, this weekend, whether Rodgers is coming into town. Saturday, Friday, Matt LaFleur might hear from Rodgers then to go, what do you think? I'm going to come into town, or I might miss, whatever. But I think your point there is very real. Public pressure, Rodgers is aware of that. And when you say that, it makes me think, maybe there is a little bit more of a chance that he does show up.
And let's remember this, because it's now been several years. The 60 Minutes profile that was done of Aaron Rodgers included comments from teammates and a general vibe that Aaron Rodgers is very sensitive.
Yeah, right.
And he bristled at that, and 60 Minutes issued a statement in response to his complaint that was essentially, see, he's proven our point. He's so sensitive. He's sensitive about being called sensitive. Right. So this is the whole human being that is making this decision, and we have to consider that he does not like to be criticized. He does not like to be called out. He does not want the cheeseheads to to think ill of him.
Yeah.
And maybe he will be there.
I know. It's fascinating. It's going to be a fascinating Aaron Rodgers psychological experiment next Tuesday. We're going to get to dive deeper into his brain and see where he's at with that.
And either he shows up or he doesn't, but either way, we'll have plenty to discuss.
Definitely.
We'll either be talking about the reaction to him not showing up or whatever he says when he rolls into camp. And his attitude is, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Why the media made a big deal of this? Why this is all fake news. This is all your fault, not my fault. I can't wait for that one.
Oh, me too.
I wouldn't bet against it happening.
Please, Aaron Rodgers, say don't look at Mike Florio's crap and say that. Give us a great headline.
We've been using that clip for 5 years now.
Boom, there it is.
Come on, get out of here.
Reading crap like that.
That is so good how he delivered
morning,
it to him. It was so good.
And when you watch all of it,
yeah,
he really didn't want to do it.
Right.
You could see
it
the
there.
dilemma playing out. You can almost, if you look just right, you can see the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. And trust me, Aaron, I'm there every single day, and the devil wins
like
his
Mike
share
Florio.
of battles.
Don't
Hopefully
waste
he
your
hasn't
time
won the war yet. There it is. We need to do
There
the
was a
Aaron
little
Rodgers
grin,
devil on the left.
mad. There was
Yeah.
a little everything
He
in that
didn't-
face there.
He
Yeah.
didn't want to say it. And you know what? Since we went there, let's remember that comment was made by him because I was looking at things he was saying to the media that year, saying he's got a problem with Mike McCarthy.
Right.
And what have we learned
Yeah.
since then, Chris?
Yeah, well,
what have we learned?
Yeah.
He had a problem with Mike McCarthy.
Listen, it's, people can say what you want. You're phenomenal at connecting dots and your pasta and meatballs gut and going with it. And you were all over that and 100% correct. So, yeah, that was a good call by you. And you're right. That was another instance of putting together pieces to where, we know how you feel, even though we don't know because you haven't said so.
And this gets back to, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it, he doesn't like it when he gets called out on his passive-aggressive comments. He wants to be able to say those things and send those messages, and he doesn't want us and any of the rest of us in the media to say, you know what he said? Here's what he means.
Right.
Here's who he's saying it to. He doesn't want us to do that. He wants to have it both ways. He wants to be able to throw the dart and not be accused of throwing the dart. It's that simple, Chris.
I agree, Mike. I'm not gonna push back there. You know this is my guy, and there's a lot that I love about him, and I love sometimes where he is honest and does things like that. But yeah, he can be cryptic. There's no doubt about that, and I'm not gonna deny that.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.